Good morning. This is a review tutorial on how to program the common cues on our ETC Express 4896 light control board. These are the cues that are at the beginning of every program that we set up. First, you need to make absolutely sure that you have your cheat sheet, the stage dimmer circuit listing, because we're going to be using these quite a bit. Now, the first thing you need to do before you do anything else is clear the memory on the board. Go to Setup, and we're going to be going to clear function, so punch 4 and enter. We're going to do this in two steps. First, we're going to clear the overall show, which you will punch 1 and then enter. And then it asks you to clear the show data, hit enter a second time, or to cancel it if you want to bail out because you hit the wrong thing, push clear. We want to do that. This is are you really sure? Well, we're really sure. Hit enter. Now, on our particular board, sometimes cues get trapped spuriously underneath the layer of programming for the show. So just to be safe side, we always go back to setup, we always go back to the clear functions again, and we specifically clear cues. It seems like an extra step, but we've had things get balanced before, so this is our way to take care of the issue. So we'll hit 2 and then enter twice. That clears off a second time. Now we go back to stage. We're going to start programming the 4 common cues we always have at the beginning of the program now. First, we're going to set up our storage or empty auditorium setting with just the under balcony lights on dimly. So look at your cheat sheet. You see that the under balcony lights are dimmer 189. So we're going to go back to the board, punch channel always, 189. Now we want to set this at a fairly dim setting, so we set at, and we set 30% as our default. Enter. You'll notice on your screen 189 lit up in yellow as you punched in the intensity, 30 lit up here. As you hit return, it's set up like so. We're going to record this as a non-oops cue. So we're going to set it up as a 0.5 as the cue call. Since you can't hit 0.5 accidentally, there's less chance of it being hit accidentally during a program. So you're going to hit record. Cue is the default, but always hit cue. 0.5, enter. You'll see over here in your work window, this is popped up. The time is set automatically to a 5-second crossfade. This one has been recorded. Go down to release on the keypad, hit it twice. Now we're going to set up the main house lights on at 100%, the other most common setting. Basically, the lights are on in the auditorium or they're off in the auditorium several times a day. Unless there's a show on, these are the two most common settings. So the house ceiling lights are 163 through 188. So hit channel 163 through 188, and again at full. Now we also need to turn on the under balcony lights. So you hit channel again, 189 at full. You'll see that 189 is now lit up at full. Someone always asks, why don't we just go 163 through 189 at full, since they're all at full and they're all right next to each other anyway? And you could have done that. But we normally have the under balcony lights at a completely different setting than anything else that's going on in the auditorium. So we just do this to get in the habit of programming those separately. So we're going to record this as our Q1, our standard setting for that. So hit record, Q1, enter. You'll see the Q1 is recorded over here and it shows up on this side. Now, the next are the warnings as we fade down and go to the preparation before the program itself starts. So Qs 2, 3, and 4 are what we're going to record right now. Q2 is the house at 50, and we're going to leave the under balcony lights at full, because the under balcony lights are there to allow eyes to adjust when you're coming out of the darker auditorium into the brighter lobby, or coming from the brighter lobby into the darker auditorium. So they're always going to be at a different level so that your eyes have time to adjust. So we're going to program 163 through 188 at 50%. This is your first warning. So you're going to punch channel 163 through 188 at 50. And you'll see that that's what's happened up here. We're going to leave 189 at full. You notice 189 didn't move. It tracked, to use the term, from the previous cue. It stayed exactly the same. We can record this now as cue number 2. You hit record, cue 2, enter. Now we went from full house to house at 50, so you didn't have to go through and clear things off in between and release everything. You can just do this because the lights are changing from one setting to the next to the next. The same lights are moving, so you don't have to go through and do a bunch of extra steps in between. The next cue, cue number 3, is with the house at 20%, and the under balcony is going to fade down to 50. This is the final warning that the program is going to start. So you're going to first hit channel 163 through 188 at 20%. And now we're going to bring the under balcony lights down again, so you don't have big light changes for the eyes. Channel 189, we're going to set that at 50. Record this as cue number 3. Record, cue 3, enter. And then we're going to make the final change where the house is down to 0 and 189 is at its normal dim setting of 30%. So channel 163 through 188 at 0. And remember, 0 was double 0 on this system. Try that again. 163 through 188 at double 0. And then 189 is going to go down to 30. Channel 189 at 30. Enter. Record that as cue number 4. Now you saw something strange happen up here. For whatever reason, 163 didn't completely punch in, so we went to just lighting up 188 before. I just went back and repunched. The nice thing about this board is it's forgiving. As long as you didn't hit enter, you haven't changed anything. So you can just repunch your channels if you make a mistake like that. It happens to everyone. All right, hit release twice to clear everything off. Let's check to make sure that we have the right settings. Let's check our storage settings. So you're going to hit Q to bring up a Q, and we're going to check 0.5. And we're going to hit go over at a C and D fader. Remember, you don't want to be ping-ponging between faders. We always use C and D because they're the closest ones to the keypad. Hit go. And you'll see 189 under the balcony fade up to 30%. Everything else will be dark. It takes 5 seconds to make the change because that's what our default is programmed to be. Now, if we hit go, say we just walked into the auditorium because we're getting ready for a show that evening, the house lights are off, the under balcony lights are on. We want to go to full house, all we have to do is hit go because it's there. And you'll notice 163 through 188 changing at a fairly fast pace, 189 a little slower as they both come up to full. So we've set up the house, everything's ready to go, the people are starting to come in, it's 7 o'clock or whatever time the show is starting. It's time to give people a warning that the lights are going to come down. You're going to do your blinky blinky and then hit go to Q2, where the house comes down to 50%, which is a pretty dramatic drop. It gets their attention. 189 stays at full, so there's still a transition area for people's eyes to adjust. The final warning, after your second blinky blinky, you hit go again. You'll see these fade down to 20%, while 189 fades down to 50. Again, putting a gradient in the light so that people's eyes have time to adjust. Then once everybody's basically seated, you hit go for the last time. 163 through 188 fade down to nothing, and 189, the under balcony light, fades down to 30. That's how we set up the basic 4 light settings at the beginning of each program. Please practice this a few times on your own. Make sure that you're completely comfortable with all the procedures for what button you hit when, and come back for the second tutorial on how to program for a macro.